6:38 now to an ABC 15 follow-up on a story we've been following closely for weeks. A judge now dismissing that lawsuit against the Scottsdale sales tax initiative, meaning it is going to be on the November ballot if you live in the city.
It is confusing, though, and this is where we bring in our Amelia Fabiano, who first told us about this last month. You're hearing now from the city and those who filed this lawsuit.
Right, so they are now appealing that decision. And we know how litigation goes.
Yes.
It's going to take a few weeks here. It's going to get drawn out, but they do have a deadline. They have to get this done soon, the November election, less than 100 days away now. So we'll have to watch and see how that plays out. But I recently spoke to the president of one Scottsdale group who tells me how needed this money from that would-be tax initiative is for public safety in the city. There was a prime example, he says, last week, too, when a group of people got lost on a trail along the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve.
It really just complicates our world and makes the public less safe.
That's what Scottsdale Firefighters Association President Sasha Weller says is happening right now as their resources are stretched thin.
We are running with less resources today than we were running with in 2008. We're just holding our breath. We're relying on other communities to help us. And frankly, Scottsdale can do better.
Weller tells me the Scottsdale Fire Department needs more trucks to cut down on response times for the southern portion of the city, more resources to combat wildfires in the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve, and to perform rescues on trails, like the big one we saw last week, when a group of 13 people, including children, were lost on a trail there and were running out of water. 3 people had to be rescued, including a 10-year-old who had to be airlifted off the mountain. Weller says more resources for these scenarios are necessary as growth continues to explode in Scottsdale.
While well intended many, many years ago when the preserve and some of these other things around the city were introduced, some out of necessity and some out of desire to preserve these lands, there wasn't really a ton of public safety forethought long term.
A 0.2% sales tax voters put into effect almost 30 years ago to buy the preserve is expiring next year. The city wants to put a new 0.15% sales tax into effect the day after it expires to maintain and upgrade parks and recreation-related projects and resources. It's on the ballot for voters in November. For now, a vote might not happen if several people who are suing the city are able to get their case appealed. They believe the tax initiative is being advertised by the city as a tax cut when it's technically a tax hike in their eyes. At the end of the day, though, Weller tells me this money has to come from somewhere because public safety is paramount.
When public safety becomes a crisis, all the other human services, the non-really essential services, those get cut at the bottom of the budget. The consequence doesn't change in public safety. In fact, it tends to get worse until you start mitigating it.
So we will be sure to let you know, of course, what happens with that appeal. Lawyers tell me they do expect a decision in a few weeks before the end of the month. For now, though, the ballot measure will move forward as planned. Live in the studio, Amelia Fabiano, ABC 15, Arizona.
Thank you.